You've been looking at BCMA CAR T cells. I'd like you to tell me what that is and why it's so exciting, because you're getting cures in patients with multiple myeloma who have gone through all the available treatments, aren't you?
Yes, the BCMA stands for B-cell maturation antigen. It is a protein expressed on plasma cells, and multiple myeloma is an almost incurable malignancy of plasma cells. So we wanted to develop a T-cell therapy that could target and eradicate multiple myeloma in patients with advanced treatment refractory myeloma. We've treated now 12 patients on a very early dose escalation trial, and when we've got to the higher doses, we've had very good responses in some patients. I would not say it's curative yet, it's much too early to say that, but we have patients who are in stringent complete remission, ongoing, and it's very exciting because this is the first evidence of T cells that are able to eradicate large amounts of multiple myeloma and put patients in complete remission.
Can you explain some of the theory of this, these chimeric antigen receptor T cells? What are they doing in this context?
A chimeric antigen receptor T cell is a T cell that's genetically modified to target a malignancy. The T cells can specifically recognize and kill the malignant cells after the genetic modification. So we take the patient's own cells out of their blood, genetically modify them in the lab, and then reinfuse them back into the patient.
And in this study with multiple myeloma, where did you get the T cells from then? I mean, it's from
the T cells from the patient's own blood. So the patient with multiple myeloma would come in, undergo an apheresis procedure, which is like giving a blood donation, and that's where we would get the cells from to work with.
And what happened in the study?
In the study, we treated 12 patients. As I mentioned, it was a dose escalation study. In the lower doses, the patients did not have responses, but when we reached the higher dose levels, we've seen responses in 3 of 12 patients actually, overall. But in the higher dose levels, 3 out of 7 patients had responses, and the most striking thing was complete eradication of myeloma in 2 patients. We had one with greater than 80% of their bone marrow taken over by myeloma and another with greater than 90% myeloma. In both cases, the patients now have no multiple myeloma in their bone marrow.
Now, this was in patients who had gone through all the treatments, including allotransplant.
No, that's actually not correct. These patients did not have allotransplants, but they did have, and almost all the patients had autologous transplants, and they'd had a large amount of multiple myeloma therapy before.
What might this mean clinically then for cancer doctors, do you think, in the future?
I think it's a completely new and different approach to multiple myeloma treatment. This is a completely different approach. No one's ever treated multiple myeloma successfully with T cells before. So I think it's particularly it could enhance the treatment of patients with chemotherapy refractory multiple myeloma. We had one patient who had an autologous stem cell transplant and relapsed within 3 months after that, showing that it was completely refractory to chemotherapy, but yet obtained a stringent complete remission on this study.
So what do you think is the brief take-home message?
I think this is a very early but very promising new therapy for multiple myeloma. It opens up a whole new area of CAR T-cell therapy for multiple myeloma, and strikingly, it was very effective in a similar manner to what we've seen with the anti-CD19 CAR T-cell therapies, which have been much more extensively studied.
Could you potentially bring it earlier in the disease process?
Potentially, but I think that's years away.